And we are live. Hi, everybody. I'm Patty Dominguez. I'm from Boss Free Society with my fearless partner here, Tim Wambach. And we have a special guest today, one of my favorite ladies. She's simply irresistible, Pam Herrmann. But before that, let's just start on what Boss Free Society is. So if this is your first time checking us out on YouTube or on social media in general, really what the team vision is we want to, as a boss-free society, to help people live extraordinary lives. So we definitely believe that you can live an extraordinary life being boss-free, and then attracting prosperity partners in whatever you decide to do in order to make that happen. So we definitely live in the solution, we pay it forward, and we choose to live a life by design. So that's really the way that we operate, the mission by which we stand. And to give you a little bit about Pam Herrmann, who I simply love. I think she's so tremendous. Pam Herrmann has spent 25 years in the consumer products industry working with companies that have ranked on Fortune's fastest growing 100. She has invented products and has successfully brought them to market with such retail giants as Pottery Barn, Sonoma, Sears, and International Wine Accessories. Like, yeah, no big deal. She has helped network marketers increase their traffic and sales faster with less frustration, by teaching them the critical skills that the top earners have mastered using both offline and online strategies. So Pam, I definitely want to hear more about this critical skill set. That I think that'll be some really great information. And Pam's also a trainer with A Better Networker, which is the largest online community of home business owners. Pam also has a radio show on the Home Business Radio Network and has 3 times been featured on the cover, she's a cover girl, of Magnetic Sponsoring's What's Working Now publication. So Pam resides in Denver, Colorado with her 2 beautiful children. And with that, welcome, Pam.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, this is a great bio. This is a great bio.
On paper.
So did you start your career when you were 9 then, Pam?
How old do I look, Tim?
34.
Yeah, you need to back that up, Tim. You need to back away from that one.
Oh, you drink. Yeah, no, I started really young.
So Pam, tell us about, I mean, we talk about our mission or our mantra, what makes us tick. What do you think you, as Pam Herrmann, the brand, and if you consider yourself a brand, which I'm almost positive you do with all this incredible background, what is your mantra? What makes, like, really kind of has that passion in your heart for what you do?
You know, that's such a great question because this is like one of the hardest questions for most people to answer. Like, wrap it up in a nutshell, right? Yeah. Sally Hogshead, are you guys familiar with Sally Hogshead? She
Fascinate.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in Dallas a few weeks ago. She was a speaker there, and we went through this exercise. And I am all about inspired relationships. And her profiling system nailed it. I'm all about inspiring people to build better relationships. And the way I kind of parlay that into the real world and how I make money, because, you know, inspired relationships is awesome, but, you know, how do you actually make coin from it? It's teaching businesses how to connect with consumers at a heart level. And the easiest way for me to explain that is, you know, in the old days, word-of-mouth marketing used to be as fast as picking up the phone and chit-chatting about specials or discounts at the department store, or, you know, the butcher giving you a crappy piece of meat or whatever. That was the speed of word-of-mouth marketing, or, you know, our moms talking over the fence, right? Today, it's exponentially different. We are allowing people who don't even know us to influence our purchasing behaviors online. And so what I've done is I've gone back to companies and to entrepreneurs, and I've said, look, if you want to stand out in today's economy, you need to be doing one thing differently, because consumers feel like they're getting screwed in every way, shape, and fashion, whether it's online or it's walking through a brick-and-mortar business. They don't feel like they're being cared and valued. So inspired relationships is all about how to connect with your prospects, with your existing customers, create an amazing 5-star customer experience, and then leveraging that in the online space so that you can get more people who would not have eyes on your business otherwise see how awesome you are and how incredibly important your product or service is and your solution, and draw them in through the internet. So it's this awesome little synergy of online and offline, but it all is rooted in relationship marketing. So that was not 30 seconds. That was not
no. But so then, I guess with that concept, would you think that, or do you believe, I should rephrase that, do you believe that that's applicable to any company in any industry? Because everybody at the end of the day is right? If you're in business, you're selling something. So would
Absolutely.
it apply to just a solopreneur and then say an e-commerce site?
Any business, even if it's a B2B business, you still have customers, right? If they're other businesses, or they could be people within your own organizational structure. So accounting's customers is a separate department, right? Sales and marketing, yes, they have external forces, but they're really serving, the higher level organizational structure. That's who their customer is. They're trying to serve the higher needs and the wants and desires of an organization. So when we talk about customers, it's really kind of a loosely termed phrase, which is that anybody who's consuming the thing that you produce throughout the course of the day, regardless of what department you're in a business, or if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or you work for a four-man operation.
Right.
Make sense?
That's
Yeah,
great,
definitely.
yeah.
It does make sense. So, Tim, do you want to ask a question?
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, like, you've obviously been an entrepreneur for a long time, and what were some of those, what's your story about how you became an entrepreneur?
Well, I've always worked for entrepreneurs. Even through college, I worked my way through college, and I've always worked for people, very, very small entrepreneurs. And within that structure of working for an entrepreneur, you are forced to be very scrappy. I've always been a lone wolf. I've never been managed. I've never been mentored. I've always had to just figure things out. So that's probably where I got a lot of my, I just call it guerrilla experience. It's really just beating the streets and figuring it out on my own. And so my own personal journey of being an entrepreneur really was born out of ideation. Most entrepreneurs operate very highly in that space where they're always thinking and creating. The biggest challenge for them is how do they take these ideas and these creations and they bring it into the marketplace and successfully, make a living out of it. That's the biggest challenge. Most people who are entrepreneurs are this is why they're really bad managers also, because they haven't developed leadership skills. They're very much in the forward thinking of where their business is going. So a lot of my modeling was based on those individuals that I worked with. Then I started thinking about problems in my life, and instead of bitching and moaning about them, I was just like, well, where's the solution out there? And this was even before the internet. Like, it's so easy now to say, where can I find blah, 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 just to do a basic search query.
Right.
But before, I was just like, why doesn't that exist? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that doesn't exist. And then I would go out and build it. I would build
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And most of them were on the consumer product side, but they were born out of the necessity that I needed in my life. So a great example of this is that it was about 2002. My nieces and nephews started asking for gift cards. Now, the gift card market at that point in time was just scratching the surface. You were starting to see them on the end caps of the grocery stores,
right.
And people were asking for them, but there was this real discomfort for me to hand a gift card to somebody. It seemed really impersonal. So I started studying the Japanese art of gift giving, and I thought, what I want to do is, it's not about what's in the box, it's about the presentation, and it's held with two hands, and they give it to you, and there's great honor in the fact that they're giving something to you, regardless of what's inside, right? So I thought, okay, there's a concept in there. So I started doing some paper engineering and just started creating some boxes that were very dimensional, and they would, you could get them on the end cap at the grocery store, stick the gift card in, and it would make it a really special experience. So that was just an example of something that was born out of my nieces and nephews begging for something that I was so resistant to. Wanted nothing to do with gift cards. So,
Pam, that's so true. I got to say, as a matter of fact, I found a gift card that I got from Red Envelope. And to me, it's not necessarily the inside of what I'm getting from Red Envelope, but the beautiful packaging. Just kind of like the same thing if you get something from Tiffany. I don't necessarily remember what I got, but I have the little sachet in the blue box. You know what I mean? It's just that experience. It's what they call the moment of truth when you're getting it, and it's that the feeling that it evokes more than anything.
Right.
That's really cool. Are you still doing that?
Not to discount the diamond ring that's in there, Patty.
Oh, no, of course. But it is cool packaging. I don't know, I'm kind of a packaging nerd. So Pam, tell me about this whole skills thing, because I think that as entrepreneurs, and whether you are starting out something in your own or you're collaborating with friends, there's always that kind of unwritten thing where you want to just accelerate things as fast as possible. And I know that we've heard about having a mentor, and it sounds like you didn't have the mentorship aspect of it. So kind of looking back, right, because that hindsight is really valuable, is how do you think, or what would you suggest would be a way that somebody could kind of shorten that timeline to get to success? And what are the skills that entrepreneurs need?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's take, for example, somebody who's coming out of the corporate fold and say that they're just done. They're ready to kind of start on their own. They've had these ambitions for a while, but that initial leap is really scary. What we're afraid of is the unknown unknowns primarily. So what I've learned through my personal experience is that to be a successful entrepreneur doesn't mean that you have to be an expert at a whole battery of skills, but you do have to be competent at a whole battery of skills. Right. And then you have to be able to go out and find people who are the experts and bring them onto your team. You know, either you guys, pardon me, just a minute, my dog's barking. Hold on just a second.
And we'll be right back. This is an intermission.
Wow, right? Grab your popcorn. Grab your popcorn. Okay. So what happened to me personally was that I had a metric ton of skill sets. I had competency in a lot of different skill areas within a business operation. But something really interesting happened. I had never really learned sales before. I just sort of used my own, I don't know, I just have the ability to connect dots in a conversation with people where they're like, okay, how do I buy? Like there was no psychology behind it. But what happened was I started talking to people who didn't know me, and I didn't understand that psychological process of selling. That's a perfect example of where my skill sets disconnected. And if you can't sell, you got nothing. Like, it's just not going to happen. So for me personally, that was a gap, and it stopped my business. It came to a screeching halt. And I immediately thought of fear, like, oh my gosh, like, why aren't people transacting with me now? And it occurred to me that I had not built trust with them yet. Okay, that's kind of a basic. We all know this because we've done this before. But for people who are just making this transition, this is key. The psychology of selling is a critical skill for you to understand when you become an entrepreneur. So I just went in and I immersed myself. I actually found a great documentary which really helped me kind of bump over that hurdle, and it's called The Persuaders. You guys heard about that?
Cool. No.
You should check it out. It's called The Persuaders. It was done by PBS. I think it was a Frontline documentary, and it was done like probably 8 years ago. But a lot of the concepts really hold true for today, which is what are consumers thinking, and how do you match your language, and how do you build relationships around somebody, what they care and value. And what I was selling was what I thought was important. What I didn't realize was that you need to lead with questions, and they have to be high-yielding questions, and they have to be very personal, meaning it's about them. And it required me, after watching that documentary, I finally got it. It required what I call a death of ego within myself. The conversation was not about me, it was about them. And so the death of ego, I'll tell you guys a funny story actually. I first started thinking about these concepts and what are the questions I want to ask people, and what objectives do I want to achieve by asking certain questions, and how do I do it in a way that's very social and conversational. It doesn't sound like I'm interrogating them or anything like that, but just being really curious. And an interesting thing happened. So I went to I thought I'm going to take this on a test drive just in a social setting and see what happens. I went to a barbecue, and I only knew a couple people there. There were like 20 or 30 people. And I thought, I had a very clear intention going into it. Okay, I want to just have a little conversation with each person and just learn a little bit about them. Okay? So I went into this barbecue, and I met my objective. As a matter of fact, I was walking back to my car at the end of the day, at the end of the afternoon, and I was a little pissed off. And the reason why is that I knew something about everybody there, and nobody reciprocated the questions back to me.
Right.
And I was still operating in a space of high ego. And it's it was at that very moment that I connected dots in my mind. I said, this is what consumers want today. They want to be asked questions. They don't want to be told anymore. We're getting bombarded by a chaos of information, and especially when we're marketing to people, people want to know that they mean more than just a dollar sign on their forehead. And so that exercise was such a pivotal point, not just personally but professionally for me, because I thought, this is the honey hole of business. I know you love that expression, Patty. This is the honey hole of business today, in today's economy with technology. We've got to swing the pendulum back from over here where it's high masculine energy. It's all this content coming towards us through emails, and every time we open up a website, there's a pop-up, and we've got all of this stuff coming at us, and it's chaotic in the average consumer's mind. It's chaotic for me, and I'm an online marketer, so
right.
Imagine how the average person feels. So that's when I started really shifting gears and talking more about and training more in the skill set area of communication and the psychology of your conversations. And that's what I found every entrepreneur, even excellent communicators, because I'm a good communicator, I'm an extrovert, and I can make friends with like 90% of the people out there, but even understanding how to design a conversation takes a very specific skill set, so it takes a little bit of practice,
right.
And highly, highly effective.
So can you offer up some tips on how to craft or how to design a conversation, just some basics for the introvert or somebody that kind of gets frozen to say, wow, here's a great opportunity. I'm going to a networking event, right? And it's about creating those networks and building your brand in front of the right type of people. I mean, how do you start out if you have literally no idea and you have that fear?
Yeah, well, it's such a great question, Patty, and I'd love to share these tips with you, and they even work on the staunchest introverts. I've had clients who I've worked with this process, and they have just unlocked this thing that was holding them back from connecting with people socially. So it's highly, highly effective. It absolutely works. So what I want you to think about initially is when you first meet somebody, especially let's take that networking example that you just threw out, Patty. When you come to a networking event, it's not about me trying to find clients or prospects or anything like that. I go in with the mindset of who can I connect. So when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I typically start the conversation with, the standard thing, like tell me a little bit about what you do. Oh, who's a perfect client for you? So I'll always look to serve them first. Who's a perfect client? Because I network all over Denver. I've got friends all over the country. What's a good client for you? And they say, well, gosh, thanks for asking. And then they describe their ideal client to me. And I'll think, I'd like to take your business card. I want to hang on to it because I think I might have somebody that I can connect you with. So that gives me the opportunity not just to move out of the conversation if I want to work the room like in a big, massive way, but it gives me an opportunity to follow up in an email right afterwards and say, hey, enjoyed meeting you. I thought of somebody that would be a great contact for you. So I start with that initial question, tell me a little bit about you. Now, if I were in a social setting, not networking, I'd say, how do you know Bob and Sally? Or, whatever is the connective tissue to us being in the same place together. I would just ask a basic question. How do you know them? Oh, cool. How long have you known them? Oh, you guys went to school together? Where'd you guys go to school? So it's just very easy breezy. How are we connected? Okay. Then I go into, so what sort of work do you do? So again, socially, I try to find out, what do they do for fun? What do they do for work? Do they have kids? It's all around that form concept of family, occupation, recreation, and money. I don't really talk about money. I don't like talking about money, so I talk about, those other three. And then it's just a matter of going down that little string to understand what brings them joy. What I want to understand is what's going to motivate them to move from where they are today into this place that brings them joy and passion. Let's say that they're into travel. Right. What are you saving for? Where's your next big adventure? Cool, what would you do when you're there? Just ask some basic questions. So if I were a network marketer, it's a great opportunity just to kind of learn, kind of pull people into that dream state. And
exactly.
Yeah, you'll see people's eyes go up and they'll talk about, oh gosh, I'd go on a helicopter ride and I'd fly over a big volcano. And so it's really kind of fun because you're taking them through that little journey process. Okay, now if I were networking, I'd do the same thing. You know, what's the biggest challenge in your business right now? Well, I don't have enough people to talk to. So how, you know, who do you need? Like, how can I help you? You tell me, how can I help you? And it does great for building trust. That's ultimately what I want to do when I want that person to walk away from a conversation with me. Oftentimes, here's the craziest thing, they'll trust you so much that they will tell you things that they've never told anybody else, and they'll reveal that to you. They'll say, I can't believe I just told you that. I've never told anybody that. They'll tell you their fears, they'll tell you their dreams, and they feel like they've built a special bond with you. That's the power of this. And how to convert that relationship into a sale, I'm very, very delicate in this space because I don't want anybody to feel like I've manipulated the conversation. It is a sincere interest in trying to get to know them just because I'm curious about people in general. You have got to just be at a base level curious about what makes people tick. So I'm very delicate about introducing my solution. I'm always about, hey, I think I have somebody who can help you. And through the process of me almost like deflecting my solution and putting it in the hands of somebody else, it draws them back to me. They want to reciprocate back to me. Pam, who's a good client for you?
Exactly.
Remember when you were telling me that you struggle with getting more clients for your business? I help people just like you, and here's how I do it. So I wait for them to come back to me. It's a very passive sales approach, but it is massively successful. It's a massively successful strategy when you think of the long-term life of your business. I'm not looking for quick solutions for people. I'm not trying to turn people in and out of deals. This is my life, and it's my integrity. So when you talk about personal brand, I want to be known for being honest, having high integrity, that I don't use people socially. That's what's most important to me. That's like my love language. So is that too woo-woo for you, Tim?
No, I can't hear you. Tim, actually, I put you on mute because there was a lot of static with your connection, so you're going to have to unmute yourself. Can you see it? Okay. No, we lost you. Can't hear you. It's off mute, but I can't hear you. But I guess I'll give you my perspective on it. I don't think it's too woo-woo. As a matter of fact, when you were talking about it, I definitely think about the way that Gary Vaynerchuk, that he sells. So he is so grossly all about value. It's like an obscene amount of value, and then it's the right hook. It's the ask, right? It's the what can you do for me? And he's got such a legion of followers as a result of that trust he's been able to really earn, because he's earned it. He's earned the trust because he's been of such value. And you know Gary Vaynerchuk. She gave him a noogie.
Yeah.
And she has a picture of Pam has Gary Vaynerchuk in a headlock.
Yeah, well, you know, he deserved it. No, you know, it's funny you should bring him up because when I first heard him speak like 2 years ago, I heard him talking, and it was just like the clouds parted, and
Totally.
angels wept. Like his message made perfect sense, and I wanted to be the female version and kind of like the softer, feminine version of that message, to say this is what consumers want. And he's so. If any of your listeners have not studied his work, it's so simple to read one of his books, but it's grassroots.
Really powerful.
Really powerful, and it works. So you don't have to overthink this whole marketing thing. It's super simple.
Just follow Gary V and Pam.
Yeah, right.
So there you go. Yeah, that was a book that when I read, oh my gosh, when it first came out, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm getting out of corporate America and becoming an entrepreneur. Yeah, the thank you economy, hello. And then shameless plugs for Gary V, and then his most recent is jab, 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 right hook. Just awesome content, really easy to read, and he's all about being just you know, he's in your face, but that's how he is. And so I always equate him for being authentic. And I think it's that very authenticity is what allows people to trust him, which is why I really like it. And Pam, your values resonate very big with me because I'm the same way. It's like, this is me in a nutshell. It's the authenticity, it's the integrity. I mean, those shouldn't even be, you know, negotiable. It's
No,
like people are gonna, yeah, people are.
skills you absolutely have as an entrepreneur. It's the only thing, because you know we know that the secret is a network. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, the whole secret to your success. Well, there are many secrets, but building your network is critically important. First step when you're getting started is to get connected with as many people as possible. You just never know who's going to lead you to the next big thing. So,
so how do you cultivate that, Pam? I mean, you can only have so many conversations with people and then I guess I know this is going to sound a little brutal, but how do you know who to follow up with and who is like, that person's for them, or that person's not a good connection for me, as you're building your Rolodex of contacts? And how do you keep in touch with them?
That's a good question. Most people don't earn your time. Most people network and they don't value networking. I'll go into an event and I'll say, look, I don't want to work the whole room. There's 50 people here. I don't need to meet all 50 of them, but what I do want to do is have 5 meaningful conversations with people. So I'll seek out, this is kind of some stuff I learned from Bob Berg. He's like, do you guys know Bob Berg? He's such a great writer, and he talks about how to network. So Bob Berg is somebody you should definitely check out. But Bob talks about when you go into a room, you don't really know anybody. Look at the way people are kind of grouped together in circles, and if you just observe the group, you can pretty quickly figure out who's the alpha. You can see who's the listener and, you know, who's kind of driving it, or you can just see dynamics during people. It's very easy to determine who is the influencer, right? So I'm always looking for the influencer. And if I meet somebody, and let's say that they're kind of just getting started, they're a little bit low, they don't really have a big network, I always think about, I always talk to them and I ask, well, you know, who are 3 people that you really admire and you look up to? So I'm always kind of extrapolating information from people, because if I say, look, I'm looking to expand my network, you know, who are 3 people that you absolutely follow in this area, in our geographic area? And they'll say, oh my gosh, you got to go to this event, or you got to go to that meetup, or these people over here are the bomb, and I always get great referrals out of them. So I'm always just trying to follow the breadcrumbs to the next big thing. When I go to big events, industry events, I seek out the speakers. And I always go over and shake their hand after they come off the stage and introduce myself, just plant little seeds. I start following them on through the social networks. I like and comment and engage with the stuff that they put out there. Believe it or not, they're tracking who's liking, sharing, commenting. Not very many people are using that strategy, but it's highly effective, and it's a great way to get on an influencer's radar. So I always tweet about people. I tweet about their events. I'm always helping to support what's important to them. That's how you get connected with influencers. Next thing you know, you're getting invited to their events, and they make you feel like a rock star, and that's how I built my brand. It's not because I have any particular uniqueness about me. I'm doing stuff just like most people are. But positioning is something that I do understand consciously and subconsciously. So I absolutely optimize that part of my personality, and you know.
So can you help understand or help explain that in terms of positioning what you should be known for, or positioning that certain thing that you want to ultimately sell at that given time?
No, I'm always talking about my own personal brand.
Okay.
Because the thing that I'm always peddling is always a little bit different. So I want people to know about me, not about the thing that I'm selling.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, yeah, it's kind of funny. I'll tell you kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if it's positive or negative, but oftentimes when people will be like, "Oh my God, Pam's awesome!" You know, they'll go on and on. They have no clue what I do for a living.
You know what? I have heard that. I have been at the, what was it, the Traffic and Conversion Summit in January, and people, Pam, you were like floating around. It was like, Pam Herrmann. I was like, my God, you know everybody. And I bet you if you asked all of them, so what does Pam do? Doesn't matter. She's awesome, you know. And that's great, because you could be selling, you know, peanuts on the corner and be like, buy Pam's peanuts.
I'll tell you where it comes in handy. whenever I say I'm going to do this webinar, I
Yeah.
want you to come. I'm going to give you some awesome nuggets. I get butts and seats, and when I ask them to purchase, they purchase.
Love it.
I don't, there's some people that are just out there asking all the time. I
Totally.
give massive amounts of value, and people trust me. And so when I ask them to do something, they do it.
I love it.
It's a great long-term strategy. It absolutely works. So
Great. So Pam, who inspires you? I mean, we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk and gave like 3 different plugs to his books. Who else? Who else just really rocks your world?
you know what? It's so funny because depending on what I need in my business, that changes. It could be even a day-to-day thing. Like I'm so easily influenced. Like Patty, I call you periodically, and I'm like, okay, I'm in over my head. What do you know? Because you come from a completely different place than I do with your business experience, and I rely on your knowledge, your language. You have different systems and processes that I do. So on one day it might be you, and I'll be just like, thank God she just plopped in front of me, because I don't know how I would have worked through that deal with a client if I didn't have Patty's input. On one day it could be a podcast that I listen to. I always listen to the creative, oh God, I'm having a senior moment here. Okay, it'll come to me. Anyway, it's a podcast.
Entrepreneur on Fire or something?
No, different guy, Srini, surfer out of LA. Anyway, he always interviews these just genius creatives, and he's always talking about the creative process. So anyway,
I would love to hear. I would love to know what podcast that is.
I will find the link and I'll send it to you.
Oh, that'd be great, and I'll post it in the notes for somebody who's watching this.
It's just amazing. From day to day, it changes. It might be a book that I read, a snippet that I read, an article, whatever. Different things inspire me. There isn't just a specific person or a few people that I model. I'm in the process of kind of reworking my website. So I was checking out this one gal out of Australia. I've always loved her video blogs. And so I'm just like, I want to model that part of my business right there. So I'm always looking for people to just help me take it to the next level. And, that's it. It's not like one set person or persons. Cool. No.
That's awesome. And since poor Tim...
Who inspires you, Patty?
Who inspires me? It really depends for me, too. Like, right now, I'm really in a different, kind of thinking. I mean, John Assaraf, I love his stuff around his brain work. And I'm really into this whole NLP thing lately. NLP has just been really amazing in terms of learning it and applying tidbits. And I think it's a lot to do with what you're talking about, is asking the questions, finding the pain points, and being the solution for someone. So really getting that understanding. So I'm really digging that right now. And then the other one, I think, Tim introduced me to this really awesome book called Pocket Full of Money. So I'm reading that right now. And if you haven't read it, actually, Tom and Jeremy just love that book. They've each read it a couple of times. So we try to read a book. I'm always reading at least 2 or 3 books at the same time. So for me as well, it's point in time. It's whatever I'm feeling at that moment. Right now, it's been a lot about wealth consciousness, because the one thing that I have found to be pretty consistent is that people will hold themselves back because they're scared to lose the money. And once you understand, and to me the pivotal message that just literally changed my whole mindset around wealth consciousness was when last year I had quit my job, and I had just so much anxiety about losing my job and how I was going to replace my 6-figure income. And I was sitting at a table with a couple of people that we both know, and it was Kurt Molly and Arthur Tubman, and he's an internet marketer, and he is unbelievable, as is Kurt. And I had made the comment, I said, yeah, I have enough money through the end of the year. And then it was May. I said, if I don't make one dime as a solopreneur, I have enough money through the end of the year. I won't lose my house. And he's like, it's May. I think it was Arthur was like, it's May. What are you freaking out about? And Kurt's like, yeah, dude, you just create new money. I'm like, oh my God, that was it. I was like, okay, you just have to create a money. It's a different mindset entirely. So going from the job mentality where if it's every 2 weeks, you still get a paycheck, whether you took a 2.5 hour lunch because you were completely, just goofing off and not productive. In this, it's all about the hustle. It's about being purposeful. Scheduling your day the night before. So it is. It resonates with me when I hear you say skill sets because it is an entirely new skill set. It's worth everything because I love my life now. I mean, I couldn't be happier with the people that I meet and whatnot. So that's it. It's I don't know how I got on that topic, but the whole concept of creating the money, and that eliminated fear and anxiety. So ever since then, I've just been really kind of tuned into the whole wealth consciousness, and that's kind of my overtone of a lot of the things that I do, and that's the decisions of how I make into what to get into business. I also get into business with people I like. If I don't like you, I don't care how much it is I'm going to make with you. I don't do business with that person or a company. It's just life's too short, and I'm all about being passionate about what I do. So
yeah, well, that's a big deal coming from the corporate world where you have no choices over who you work with and how you work with them, and
exactly. So yeah. So Pam, we're gonna wrap up because this is a half-hour show. That's certainly where we always try to target.
For another 2 hours.
I know. I want coffee with Pam. I want a coffee with Pam series.
That. I love it. Can I come back? Can I come back on and talk about some other stuff sometime?
Yes, we want to hear about your projects. It's so fascinating. So Pam, how does somebody get in touch with you? What are you offering tremendous value around a product solution? How does this all work? How do we find out more about Pam Herrmann?
Best place to find me is at my website. It's called reachacrosstheregister.com. I have an awesome. Do you guys want something special for your peeps?
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 different trainings on udemy.com. One of them is social media if you're a direct seller or network marketer.
Okay.
It's primarily around Facebook. And that's mostly for newbies. So if you're just getting started networking online, it's a great place for you to start. Okay?
Okay.
Reach out to me, Pamela, at reachacrosstheregister.com. I'll throw you a special code. I also have one if you're a brick-and-mortar service-based business, you want to get started as an entrepreneur, solopreneur. I have a whole other training on Udemy that's all about how to take 5-star customer care and leverage that into the online space so you can expand your word-of-mouth marketing. So, again, Pamela at reachacrosstheregister.com. Thank you.
Great. Now, Pam, are you going to be speaking anywhere? Any conferences coming up?
I am
Will be featured?
taking it easy for the summer. We're going to do a little bit of traveling with the family. We've got No Excuses Summit coming up in Las Vegas. That's in a few weeks. And then there's some local events here in the Denver area where I'm going to be speaking. But other than that, I'm staying on terra firma. My daughter's going off to college in August, and so we're just going to spend some quality time together. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a big
Gosh,
move.
no drugs, failed pregnancy. I figure, it's a success.
You're like, yes, I made it. All right, well, Pam, thank you so much. Always such a pleasure. All your notes and your links and whatnot are going to be as part of the show notes on YouTube. And then we're just going to pimp you out so that the whole world knows about Pam Herrmann at pamherrmann.com.
Hey, Unmistakable Creative was the podcast. I put the link up there in the group chat. Unmistakable Creative. Check it out.
Unmistakablecreative.com. I am definitely going to check that out. Partially because I'm podcast obsessed in general. I don't even who watches TV or anything anymore. I'm always listening to podcasts. All right, and then unfortunately, Tim, he really does speak. He's a public speaker. Something happened with his mic, but he is saying goodbye to everybody right now and sending hand signals and whatnot. So, guys, thank you so much again. All these links and everything will be in the show notes. Pam, thank you so much. You are more than invited anytime you want. Coffee with Pam in episode number 2 with Pam Herrmann.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
All right, bye.